I'm super excited to chat with Gaby Kowalski on the Awaken Feminine podcast today. Gaby is the founder of Oneness Foundation and Gaby Kowalski Global. She's a speaker, quantum teacher, evolution, business, and abundance mentor and coach. Her sole mission and passion is to create a new and more loving world. Through spiritual education, she aims to contribute to success and longevity of visionaries and philanthropists emotionally, mentally, and strategically, whilst her community service is to help support humanity to evolve their consciousness from fear to love so we can create a world where the masses care and respect for each other and all life around them. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us today. I'm like so super excited. So she is joining me from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome to the show, Gaby.
Oh my gosh, yay, Kaki. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, all the beautiful souls watching, listening. It's an honor and a pleasure to play with you all. Yay.
Yay. Oh, I just felt like actually before you came on, just had my like soul language was like coming through and I was like, okay, this doesn't usually happen before a podcast. I'm just like going off and I'm like, okay, right.
This is going to be fun.
Yes, this is going to be fun. So first of all, before we dive into our conversation, I always love to ask my guests this question, and that is, what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
Oh, I like that. That's beautiful. Oh gosh. To me, the awakened feminine is the beautiful female form who's called back and embodied and anchored into her DNA, into her very atomic structure, that she is a goddess. She's a creator, a creatrix of worlds, galaxies, universes, that she literally can turn energy into matter with a breath, with a thought, with a pure intention. That her presence can anchor any timeline, any reality. That, oh my goodness gracious, to me, the awakened feminine is literally the one that's shaping the very core of the new golden age of existence that's emerging before us. And that, in a brief nutshell, is to me the awakened feminine.
Full
Yeah.
goosebumps going on here. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful definition. Now, Gaby, I would love for you to talk a bit more about how you kind of came into the work that you do, because I'm like just so fascinated by everything that you do. I was reading the other day on on Facebook, you're talking about dragons, and I'm like, all right, I don't know why, but then before the podcast, I just had this like inkling that we're going to be talking about dragons. So I don't know where the conversation is leading, but I would just love for you to just tell us
Mm.
how you came into doing what you're doing.
Oof, big one. Um, well, first up, if it's okay, for anyone who doesn't know me, throughout this transmission, I may start speaking light language. If you're watching this on video, you might see me move my hands and do certain things. It's not that I'm shooing away flies, it's that I'm actually like working within the quantum field and restructuring the quantum architecture around this transmission so it can be received through the heart field, so you can receive the pure light codes that are coming through. Because at the very core nature of what I do, I'm a channel and I stream light codes through my field onto the world. So if I start making funny noises or moving my hands around halfway through a sentence, if I start speaking another language from one of my previous lifetimes, just if you can please open up to receiving this beyond the mind, because whenever I co-create with beautiful souls like Kaki, there's something to be shared, and her soul and my soul and our soul families, have an intention for our co-creation. So just to get that out of the way, do I have your permission to do all of that kind of stuff?
You definitely have my permission, which
Right.
means like everyone who
Everybody
listens.
else's. Awesome. Okay, and now into this. So, also in a nutshell, what I do is I work in the quantum. For many years now, I teach multidimensionality in the quantum field and the universe beyond the third dimension, beyond the five senses that most of us are accustomed to. And I literally unlock and activate these aspects in other beings, working predominantly with mission souls who have come to Earth to regrid the planet and to literally create, anchor and activate the fifth dimensional grid architecture and then build a new Earth upon it. So, future generations and us, when we're a little bit older, can literally know what it is to be on heaven on earth. And for me, I feel like I was born with a level of memory. So some souls are born into earth and they've literally got full amnesia. And so their awakening comes sort of like a whoa, like, it's night and day. And then there are some souls that came to earth with certain memory coded into their DNA for the purpose of their missions and their ascension journeys. And so I am the kind of soul that came in with some of my memory already in my DNA. So even as a child, I was already like having deep philosophical chats and kind of, like even as a kid or a teenager, I would have kept up with most philosophy majors, around discussing those topics and just having that natural channel activated and deeply knowing that there is more to this universe than this planet, and definitely believing in the fact that we are not alone on this planet and that we've got a whole family out there in the stars. And then when I was in my early 20s, I had a car accident. I was driving along, where they cut into a mountain, and I don't know what it's called. I never remember what it's called, but they build a road around it. And so as you're driving, like on the one side, you've literally got like mountain, like the wall of a mountain, and then there's a road, and then there's a cliff falling down. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I know.
What is that called? Every time
I don't know what they're called.
It's like none of us know what this is. But, so here I was, I'd only just gotten my license. And I was driving to work at the time. I worked as a head cook at a little Italian restaurant while I was at uni. And I'm driving along, and I kid you not, out of the blue, my car just smashes into this mountain, rolls 5 times. I'm like, doo-doom, 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 holding on to my steering wheel, lands on its feet, and I think to myself, crap, what did I do? What did I do? Turns out I did nothing. You can safely drive with me. The wheel fell off while I was driving. Not even my fault. The mechanic forgot to put this thing called a split pin back in my wheel during the roadworthy. And when you lose a wheel and you're driving really fast, you can hit a mountain. Just heads up. But so I land on my little, feet, and the whole car's caved in except for me. Like if there was anybody else in the car, they would not have fared well. And I can't get out because the whole car's caved in, but this handsome man pulls up, walks out of his car, and like He-Man rips my door open and takes me out. It was quite wonderful. And because I've got so much adrenaline running through my field, I'm like, I'm fine. Feel no pain, and send the ambulance away and go home with my mum. The next day I woke up and I literally couldn't move. It turned out that the impact had twisted my spine up so badly, like literally full on. I was like, oh. And for those of you that, like my body, like if you were to look at it without clothes, now not being rude here, but one of my butt cheeks was literally this much lower than the other, which, is, I don't know what that is it's like maybe 8 centimeters lower. Don't know what that is in inches if you're in a different country.
About 4 inches, 3 to 4. Yeah.
Thank you. And by the way, just so you know, my butt was perfectly straight before this. So, but this because of the curve, of the spine, and all of these osteos and chiros and body workers basically said, and doctors said, there's nothing we can do. The case is way too severe. You're literally just going to be in pain for the rest of your life. Here's some painkillers. And in fairness, they didn't really get rid of the pain. They just dulled my brain. So I kind of just felt like I was in pain, but I was groggy and it wasn't me anymore, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't know about you. I'm the kind of person that doesn't really resonate with the word no or can't. Like to me, I'm more of this kind of person that, there's that inner, innocent, childlike positivity and optimism in me goes, but, there must be a way. And so I was like, there has to be a solution to this. Of all the things in the universe, there's no way that something like this can, just floor someone. And so I just believed there must be a way. And I kid you not, within a week, one of my brother's friends comes over. He's like, hey, I've just been up the top of the mountain to see this wizard dude. And he did this woo-woo thing with my shoulders. And I swear, I'm so much straighter than I was. I told him about you. He thinks he can help. You should give him a call. And I'm like, cool, it's a wizard in the mountain. This is exactly what I was after.
I love it.
And so I call the wizard and tell him what's happened. I kid you not, it's like he was spying on me. And he's the one that draws my attention to the, he's like, look in the mirror. Is one of your ass cheeks lower than the other? I'm like, yes. And I'm starting to look out my window to see if he's spying on me. No one was there. And on the opposite side, one of my boobs was oppositely lower than the other. So you can just imagine it wasn't looking great. And so he books me in, and I'll never forget this. Mum drives me up, and like I was in so much pain and I had no motion. My mum would have to bathe me and dress me. Like it was, all jokes aside, it wasn't rainbows and butterflies. Mum takes me up there, and she has to take my shoes off and my clothes off to my undies to do the body work. And then the wizard commences his work, which is actually energetic quantum work. It's body work, but it's working with the quantum energetics and literally like knowing how to realign the energetic realm and getting the muscles to go back into their place, which then support the bone structure. And so for 2 hours, he worked on my body, and he was sharing all of these cool wisdoms around the quantum. And it was just like ping, ping, ping. I was loving it all. After 2 hours, my whole body was back in perfect alignment and like no pain, full. And I reckon, to be honest, like even better, even more banging than when we started before the accident. So win-win there. And so I was so inspired by how he had supported me, and more specifically that it was actually more energetic work than physical work. Like he would put his hands and he'd do certain things, but it wasn't manipulation, like it was literally sending energy, sending chi through the body. It was like really cool. And so then I studied under him for 3 years, learning all of his different modalities. He'd spent over a quarter of a century full time in this work, putting all these different modalities together. And from him, I remembered how to work in the quantum and how to, like I did kinesiology and NLP and Touch for Health. And seriously, there is so many courses that I've done over the last 2 decades. Some would even call me a bit of a nerd. And this is what opened those doors. I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is epic. And then with the energetic work and also learning how to restructure or reprogram, not just the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, there's so much more to us. And when we can reprogram our consciousness and a subconscious and reset it, so therefore, say, for example, we're wanting to experience something in physical form, we then program that into the subconscious for it to be in perfect alignment. And then our beingness allows that to manifest, allows that to materialize. So I then went off and decided to take all this technology and apply it into growing businesses and growing, doing something others hadn't done before. And I promised myself that once I took all of these tools and applied them to my life and created something really tangible and awesome in the physical plane of existence, I would then show other people how to do that. And so I took my first business to #1 status with what I did, and then the second one. And then in 2012, while I sort of had a hobby coaching mentoring business, because my businesses were generating quite a lot of abundance, and my coaching business was more like a side hobby because, I think I charged like $100 and something a session or something cute, back then. And then in 2012, my soul kind of tapped me on the shoulder. When your soul does that, I think it did it to you when you were told to do this podcast. It's like, yes. Hello, yep. And so my soul taps me on the shoulder and says, it's time. You've done it. You spent the last decade building all these things, utilizing these technologies, and you know how to do this now. It's time to show others how to do this, how to work within the quantum, and how to make their dreams come true, how to materialize into the physical, their highest timelines and realities. And so I went off on a big quest to learn all I could about the industry that I'm in now, which is speaking and running beautiful events and programs. And I learned from the best of the best mentors, teaching me and giving me the templates for how to structure all of this, how to deliver, how to be a great speaker, how to teach, how to code, how to really create lasting change, and how to market all of this, and how to call soulmate clients in, and how to build a great back end and scale and build a phenomenal team and truly be the empress or the queen of an empire of light. And that, my dear, is how 20 years later, here I is talking to you, or more than 20 years later, actually, here I is talking to you. Yeah.
Wow. What a journey. And I'm still just mind blown with the wizard guy up in the hills.
Sometimes you just need to meet a wizard.
What did your mum think when you went, I'm gonna go see this wizard up in the hill?
I think so. My parents are also really like they're wise, they're activated beings. So I spent most of my childhood philosophizing with them, you know, and even to this day I will still come home and tell them, like, I channel and I communicate with and I co-create with light beings, and I work with predominantly beings within our, not even just our galaxy, in our universe, and I literally like work with them the way that we work physically with people in the physical realms. And I will tell mum and dad about the different races that I meet and what they teach me, and so mum and dad know about, you know, all of this stuff. And yeah, just I share it all with them. Sometimes it's a bit like, you know, they've got to breathe and calibrate, and other times it's just like, yep, you know. So the wizard, mum and dad went and had sessions with the wizard man later as well, and you know, they've had lots of, yeah, mum and dad have enrolled in lots of courses over the years. I've dragged their little butt into, you love this course, I just did it, come and do it.
I love that you share that with your parents, because it's not often that, you know, a lot of times, like for myself, for example, for me, my parents call me, I have to translate it into English. So like spirit woman.
I love it.
Because I went from like pharmacist, as I was telling you before, to like, you know, doing all this healing work and things like that. So they think I'm completely nuts. So I just love that you can share, you know, or that you do with your parents. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. And to be honest, like there is like I wouldn't say all, because there are aspects to the level of like where I'm working where, you know, it's just, but most of it, and yeah, and that's not to say, yep, it's beautiful. I'm really grateful too. I love that as well. And I think it's awesome that you're called Spirit Woman. It's funny. I love it.
It is funny.
Kiki the Spirit Woman.
Kiki the Spirit Woman, yes. Maybe I should change my name.
I like it. SW, you could get like a superhero outfit. SW.
Yeah. SW, Spirit Woman.
With feathers and stuff.
Yeah.
Crystals.
Yeah, feathers and crystals, yes. With my crystal crown. I should pull my crystal crown and show you. But I want to ask you, actually, as you were talking, just I was wondering if you were able to unpack for our audience, like what the difference is 3D and 5D for anyone who's like, what is she talking about, this 3D architecture and 5D architecture? Do you mind explaining a bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't mind. I can do that. So, okay, so when we look at the very construct of the universe, the fabric of the universe, on Earth, most of us have only had access to the third dimension, which means that we literally do not see or sense any other realm of existence. Then there's some of us that are more sensitive, and we can feel energies, and we can actually feel into the energetic realms. And so that way, like if we've got that activated within us, we can go into an environment and be like, oh, like, you know, it's creepy here. Oh, wow, it's so peaceful here. And we can intercept beyond the veil of our senses, right? Now, then beyond that, we go even further. There are different dimensional planes of existence, and wherever we're coded to will have access to that fully. In the third dimension, we are in a dimension of duality and linear time. And I'm going to explain it slightly differently. I want to kind of go through the dimensions with you to sort of show you what existence would be like in the first, second, and third, fourth, fifth,
Yes,
and
please.
That way there's this like, you know, there's this, So if you existed in the first dimension, there is only one point. There is literally one perspective. And in the first dimension, you would be like a dot, just standing there looking at nothing. So if you're on video right now, you'll see me really still and I'm blinking. If you're listening to audio, imagine I'm just really still and I'm just blinking, looking left and right, and nothing's going on. Cool?
Yeah.
First dimension. In the second dimension, we get a second perspective, a second point of reference. And so another dot appears. So in the second dimension, it'd be like, Kiki, you and me. Now stand and look at me and just blink. Great. Nothing else, just Gaby and nothing. And I look at you and it's like, Kiki and nothing. Second dimension. Yet right now, this is the birth of duality. So in the second dimension, the birth of duality exists where I now have something else that I can go, oh, I'm me, you're you. There's the illusion of separation, if that makes sense. There is the experience, not even the illusion, it's the experience of separation. Now the universe just broke into two parts. And even though it's still the universe, those two parts can experience themselves separately to each other. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing though. In the second dimension, it's just you and me, right? So if I then put something in front of you and me, like a piece, like I'm right now, if you're not watching the video, I'm putting up a little board in front of us. Kiki, can you still see my face?
No.
No. Nor can I. In the second dimension, how this would work is I could literally draw a line between Kiki and I, and she disappears because all I see is line. There's no depth. Everything's 2D, 2D, like a 2D drawing. Yeah. And so if I'm a 2D being and someone draws a line in front of Kiki and I'm like, where'd she go? She disappeared. And to me, that's the truth of my universe. Kiki just disappeared. Oh my God. And then if I take that line away, oh, there she is. Now, did Kiki actually disappear? Kiki, no, she's right here. She was here all along. And now in the third dimension, we get a third perspective, which is depth. And so what then happens is we are able to go upwards, and with depth, we've got 2 points, two different points plus depth. What this does is it creates the possibility of linear time. So in 2D, we now have linear time from me to Kiki, from the start of the day to the end of the day, something to something. Something starts, something ends. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And within depth, if I put a line between Kiki and I in the 3D, guess what? We can just look over it like a fence, or it'll be below us and we can just step over it and continue walking to each other. But if we go back to 2D, depth disappears and we're under the illusion, does this make sense, that there's nothing there? Mm-hmm. I share this with you because every dimension has its limits to consciousness. And we think that's all there is until we get something else and like, oh, how about that? Yeah. So then we go into the fourth dimension. And in the fourth dimension, we get a fourth perspective. In the fourth dimension, that fourth aspect, that fourth perspective can then see Kiki and me in depth as one thing. And so it unifies us in that regard where it can, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it will unify time, and it sees time as not as a linear, it sees time as a circular, as a constant. In that fourth dimension, you can look up and you can see all aspects of linear time. So we can see Kiki in the morning, Kiki in the afternoon, Kiki in the evening. It's not just work. Does that make sense? It's not just linear. You can zoom out and you're now able to see it all as a whole. And so if you've ever heard spiritual texts talk about all there is now, mm-hmm. and now is all there is, this is a fourth dimensional consciousness. And those times where we can actually go into the moment of now and just be in now, that's when we're accessing a fourth dimensional consciousness. If we get sucked back into linear time, we've gone back into 3D. Does this resonate?
Yes.
Yep. Awesome. Now, ultimately, when someone evolves into 4D, their relationship with time will change. So all the souls that are evolving around the world right now, those that are shifting into 4D, there's been a lot of people experiencing time warps. It's like, man, the last 6 months, like went so fast, but it feels like years. God, I've grown so much in the last friggin' 2 weeks. It feels like and you're smiling because you can relate to this. So this is us experiencing fourth dimensional time. In quantum time, we can fit a lot more in, and this is where our ascension is happening. So when we look at the beautiful beings of light that are sharing light codes, upgrading us, that anyone who's got access to be able to work in the quantum, when we're not working with linear time and we're working with circular and like time, we can literally fit 2 decades worth of evolution into 6 months. And that was not possible before. So if someone's just in 3D consciousness, they have to literally spend their whole life meditating to be able to access those things, because they're still playing within the construct of linear time. Whereas in 4D, we now have the potentiality to work in circular time, and it's stacked, it's multidimensional. Is this sexy?
Yes, so sexy. I love it.
Now, then, guess what? Guess how many perspectives you get in the 5th dimension?
I don't know, 5?
And so, as in the 4th dimension, the fourth perspective unifies time. Cool? So it's able to look at time and unify it. However, in the 4th dimension, there is still duality. What that means is there's still right, wrong, good, bad. There's still the perception of an opposite. Yeah. Yet time has been unified. And that means that 4D is not exactly the goal that we're, aiming for, because in 4D we still experience struggle, because we're still looking and perceiving with judgment and with, a sense of failure and all of these things. We're comparing. In 5th dimensional consciousness, the 5th perspective is able to see me and Kiki, see us in depth, see us beyond linear time in circular time, and then see Kiki and I as unified. We are one. We are no longer Kiki and Gaby, 2 separate beings. We've actually been unified. And that doesn't mean that Kiki doesn't have her own signature frequency and I don't have my signature frequency. There's no more comparison. When you remove duality, you don't compare anymore. Everything gets to be what it is in its pure essence. The best way to explain this is most of us wouldn't compare a plant to an elephant, because we're like, well, you can't compare them. They're different, right? Yeah. And so it's kind of like this, where you get to see everything as its own unique fractal of source, yet everything's actually part of the whole. And to put it to you better, it's like all of a sudden, when we see a hand, we know it's part of a body. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I don't think to myself, man, like the hand is wrong, but the elbow is right. Or do you know what I mean? Like we don't go like, the hand's better than the elbow. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you do, then good for you for that way of thinking. Yet, and so in 5D consciousness, when it's unified, I'm this finger. Kiki's this finger. Somebody else is this finger. We're all part of, does this make sense?
Yes.
We come back into a unified field, which means even within us, in 5th dimensional consciousness, we ascend and evolve to unify the masculine and feminine energies within us. So when Kiki asked before about what is the awakened feminine, now I can share that to me, the awakened feminine is accessing her full codex, and she's actually fully an awakened masculine too. She's got full access to her left brain and her right brain. She can stand strong. She's a goddess. To me, to be an awakened feminine is to call back the goddess frequency, and all gods and goddesses are working with both spectrums. It's not just feminine, it's not just masculine, it's unifying both. So you have all the skills and tools at your disposal. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And so in that 5th perspective, we are called to unify within ourselves that. And we're also then unifying, and in the 5th perspective, we're unifying with our higher self and our soul. And there's this big reunification. In 3rd density, there is the appearance of separation. So it's I, my higher self, my soul, as 3 separate things. And so many people work to be able to, bring these together into harmony. As we take that journey of evolution and we're able to expand and ascend and we anchor fifth dimensional consciousness, we are then unified with our higher selves and soul. We are one. Yeah, there is no, there's this like the human aspect and the soul and the higher selves are all co-creating in a collective. It's one unified field. Yeah. And this is where when we go into what is fifth dimensional reality is then created by fifth dimensional consciousness. And there's a lot of love here. There's a lot of love available here. There's a lot of compassion available here, because here we're no longer playing within duality. And when we let go of duality, we also then often, we're invited, especially in the higher realms of fifth dimensional consciousness, we're literally invited to let go of fear, all fear imprints and codes, and anchor into love. Now, the funny thing with love is there's no end to love. So just when we think, oh my gosh, I can't experience more love in my body, you can. And if you're listening or watching, if you've ever fallen in love with an animal, a child, a person, yourself, as we ascend and we call back more self-love, it's just more and more and more. And that is just a nice, simple way to, to explain the dimensions and the levels of consciousness. And they are in different realities, which means someone with fifth dimensional consciousness will share the same earth as someone in third. We just have very different lives.
I love that. Thank you. That was a very easy to understand explanation of all the different dimensions. Thank you. Now people are probably listening to this going, okay, well, that's well and good. How do I, someone in the 3-dimension, start playing in the 5th dimension? Like what do I need to do? Because that 5th dimension sounds amazing. So yeah, can you share like how you started playing up there?
It's a beautiful, so I think the first thing to get is that it is a journey of evolution and ascension, which means that we do this through the activation of dormant DNA within our field. Every single one of us, these avatar bodies that we have, the physical part is the body, but we've also got light bodies. We've got an aura around us, a crystalline light body, a diamond light body, a rainbow light body, where there's so much more to us than just this physical essence. Within us is multiple DNA strands, and these need to be turned back on, because for the most part, most humans have only 2 DNA active. Then, there's a whole other 10, and in some aspects, there's even more than this, yet I'm just going to stick to this body of work. So there's 2 physical, and then there's 10 energetic. And as these turn on, whole capabilities turn on. This is where, we're evolving. So there is I want to kind of share this, because evolution and ascension are very different. Evolution does enable us to access the 4th dimension. And in the 4th dimension, beyond time, there's also so much more. Like I'm actually going to be running a free event next month on 4D. And it's going to be epic. So if anyone does choose to follow me, look out, because in the next few weeks, I'll run an event talking deeper about a technology that was activated a couple of years ago called the 4D bridge. And the 4D bridge is literally allowing dimensions to coexist together in one shared reality as we ascend. Now, I share this because the 4D consciousness is evolution. It's quantum access. It's evolving and turning on our capabilities to be able to see, hear, taste, smell, literally experience beyond our 5 senses, to be able to experience the true universe, beyond just this, this physical. And evolution is this beautiful ability to call back gifts and skills from different lifetimes. Your soul could have existed on different planets, in different universes, or even here on Earth, yet you could have been in ancient civilizations like Avalon and had access to magic, or in ancient Egypt and literally could alchemize and, work. There's so much magic within our ancient civilizations. Or Lemuria, and you could literally talk and communicate with all the sea creatures, and no different to the way that we're communicating, had access to telepathy, to telekinesis, to all of these things. So evolution enables us to access more function, more knowledge of the universe. Does this make sense? Like literally to kind of become almost superhuman, to be able to turn energy into matter. Yeah. Ascension invites us to hold more love and abundance and light in our field. So when we look at ascended masters, they have evolved, they've got skills, and they are pure love incarnate. And not every single being, you know, like you can come across people on earth right now who have got really powerful channeling gifts and really powerful, but that doesn't mean that their heart is fully integrated. It doesn't mean that they're oozing joy, compassion. You know, they could still be really quite judgmental and fearful. And does this make sense?
Yes.
So fifth dimensional consciousness invites us to evolve because you do have full quantum access in 5D. And that's a journey through the fourth dimension. Yet it invites us to hold love. It invites us to, you know, to have a loving frequency with all of that knowledge. So therefore, we're consciously creating universes of love, realities of love. And to answer your question, it is a process of evolution and ascension. I got a course called Quantum Shift Magic School for adults. And it takes people on a journey to unlock, to activate all of this, where they literally get to remember lifetimes in ancient civilizations on earth, call back gifts. And all of a sudden they're speaking ancient light languages, many from different lifetimes, able to do all of this different alchemy work. And they just know how to work with the fire element, the water element, the wind element. They just call back their magic. And this is all unifying, coming back to this unification with the soul, knowing that when we're unified with our soul, all of our previous lifetimes are unified into this vessel. And not all, sometimes not all, because it's quite a lot. It'll be whatever's relevant, yet no different to how in this one incarnation, we can remember what life was like when we were 10 or 15. We've got memories. We may have learned a skill all throughout our teenage years, like to play piano, and now we can play piano because past us did the work to practice. Well, when we unify and when we ascend and we can like connect back with our soul, we're then able to remember past life skills. So if I spent 2,000 lifetimes doing grid work, I am then in this incarnation able to regrid, create grids and fully restructure the quantum architecture of this planet, the galaxy and the universe, because my soul has spent 2,000 lifetimes practicing that, and I can call that back into the field. The pathway, though, is the pathway of evolution and ascension to unlock all of this. And there are many teachers, or there are some teachers on the planet sharing this, and there are beautiful beings of light. There are other races in our galaxy that are literally pumping light codes onto this planet, which is serving to awaken this within us. And if you just allow, the other bigger piece to this is healing. It's choosing the path of love, compassion, forgiveness, you know, really doing the work to come into this beautiful field of knowing that everything, you know, everything outside of us is actually within us being projected out. And so one of the primary paths of evolution and ascension is self-realization. It's mastering the art of embodying that I am creator. I create everything, no matter what's going on around me. If something's not working, if I'm experiencing a challenge or a pain, I look within and go, how did I co-create this? What subconsciously within me created this? What susceptibility within me would have attracted this situation? And then we go in and we literally reprogram that. We pull those programs out. We evolve them. We alchemize them. We go into previous lifetimes on Earth and we heal and harmonize some of the traumatic stuff we've experienced. We go into the very DNA in our avatar bodies and we heal ancestral pain. You know, you got to remember these avatars have memory carried over. So that a part of ascension is literally healing the body, learning to love it, eat good food, drink good water, and heal the trauma within it, emotionally, mentally. Does that answer the question? There's a lot to it.
Yeah, definitely. For someone who's like going, oh, like when as they're listening to you speak, something's like ignited in them going, oh, what is the first, like what would be the best first step for them to like take or look at, like, yeah, to start this process of evolution?
Well, the very, very first step is to get that our heart consciousness is opening up the universe to us. So the very, very, very first step is to get that the mind is not who we are. It is a tool, like a hand, and to start activating the heart consciousness. Now, I've literally got a free heart consciousness, heart activation on my website. I feel, Kiki, will you include my
Yeah,
website
I will. Yes,
somewhere?
yes.
So if you go to my website, there's a free resources tab. And by the way, there's like, I think 14 different,
You've got
like,
heaps there.
there's heaps and heaps of like free gifts and activations that I share with the world. And there are people that literally just sit there and do all of them. And if any of it calls to you, of course, you're welcome to find out more about my courses. Yet the heart activation inside of that, if you just listen to that and receive that, and it's there, like it's free, it's yours, it's a powerful technology and powerful activation. And as the heart comes online, it then reconnects. It's like literally plugging back in all of these unplugged connection points into your multidimensionality, into your soul, into your higher selves, into who we truly are. And most importantly, unplugging out of the 3D world. So most humans are plugged into society, into family, into friends. You know, they're not actually plugged into self and source consciousness. And then their mind is the primary filter they're experiencing the life through, and it wants proof. It wants, like, and it thinks all the time, and it tells them things, and they think this voice, this processor, is them. It's not. It's a tool. We want to build a beautiful relationship with our mind, and it's not a pushing away of the mind. It's, you know, it's like, I love you, mind. Thank you. I know that you're just doing your job. You're trying to work this shit out. The truth is, we cannot receive the quantum through our mind. We can only receive it through our heart. And so heart activation, heart consciousness, working and choosing to go into the heart consciousness is the very, very first step, mastering that. And of course, with love, heart consciousness always invites us to walk on pathways of love, then loving our mind into evolution and ascension, loving our emotional body into evolution and ascension, and self-realization. Really getting that it's always coming back to, how am I creating this? Which means, truthfully, there is literally no room left to be a victim, and any victim consciousness as we take the journey of evolution and ascension properly. And that's, you know, there are people out there that have literally accessed more knowledge of the universe, but because they aren't because they're not like really going into this like self-responsibility and like anchoring, I am creator of this whole universe. I project universe. Everything around me is a reflection of me. Then they then get a bit lost in some of the underworld stuff. Like there are, you know, lower realms of existence and all sorts of like spiritual, not so nice aspects, you know, demons and, you know, all sorts of like bad aliens and stuff. And none of that actually exists outside of us. That exists within us. You know, when we take the journey to self-actualize and to go, okay, how am I co-creating this? What fear within me do I need to let go of? In order for me to have compassion for this so-called demon who's having a pretty rough time in the universe right now versus making it out to be some good versus bad war. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's just so helpful for people that are just at the beginning of their journeys, because I know like in the last 3 years, or nearly 3 years especially, there's so much people just, you know, coming online. So for those listening that have just heard you and go, oh, it's heart. A great, yeah. Yep. So heart, yes.
Heart.
Definitely go to Gaby's website. Yeah.
Well, you know, if we take a journey of evolution through the mind, which is literally what the Atlantean civilization did. So when I kind of talk about past advanced civilizations, we've had golden ages of existence on Earth before. Right now, there's many of us that are remembering our lifetimes in these advanced civilizations, and we're then able to share the legitimate teachings that help those civilizations ascend and evolve into a higher consciousness, right? Yet every single one of those civilizations fell for some reason or another. And so we're taking the best of the best from each one, if that makes sense, but we're not replicating. Atlantis was a civilization where they did stay in their mind. They evolved. Their knowledge of technology, quantum technology, crystal technology, like, whoa, like the power they had access to. Their super advanced technologies that gave them phenomenal advantage and freedom in life. However, because they were still very mind dominant, the mind couldn't handle it. And unfortunately, as a mind dominant like a society, they end up fighting amongst each other and others, and ego, I'm just going to call it that. When the mind is still quite dominant, we are then more present to a co-creation with our ego than our soul. And this is where, like we can take all the lessons, all the technologies from the Atlanteans, so much wisdom, yet we learn that they talk telepathically. They had all of these cool advantages, yet this was their downfall. This is what destroyed them in the end. Then, does this make sense? And so yes. The Lemurian civilization were different. They ascended through the heart field, which means that they were able to call all of this intelligence in without it getting to their heads and building hierarchies and wars and and yes. all of that stuff. And so then we go, okay, let's take the technology from Atlantis. Let's take the heart consciousness from Lemuria. Then we've got the ancient civilization of Shambhala, where they literally ascended out of physical form, yet they did it through compassion. They literally did it through love and compassion. And so we take some compassion and we place it in. Then we go to Avalon and we take back some magic, literally working with the other realms, working with the fairy realms, the elven realms, the spirits, taking magic back. We're our wizard and witch kind of codexes. Then we go to Egypt, where there's so much skills. Oh my God, the skills in alchemy. And we take all of that. Do you follow what I'm putting down? That, that this is how we get to evolve and ascend and have all of this rich wisdom and knowledge to be able to truly create realities of our choosing, a world that's loving and kind, a world that reflects what all of us want. And all yes. of us want love. All of us want peace. At a general population level, we want our families to be healthy. We want our loved ones to be happy. We want joy. We want adventure. We want to follow our dreams. This is at the core of every one of us. It's also why it's happening, this evolution ascension, because we do want a golden age of existence, that holds all of that together. And at the same time, this peace, if we only evolve without our heart, then we just end up having all of these skills and calling ourselves a guru and then having other people feel less than us. Yeah. I'm sure you're familiar with some teachers out there in the world who have, placed themselves on a big pedestal. And I don't feel like that's in the highest, because it means that everyone listening to that person feels like they're potentially less than. Can you see how that's still a dualistic consciousness? They haven't actually accessed fifth dimensional consciousness. They only have access to some knowledge and some wisdom, yet at the same time, anytime we create division, do you feel what I'm putting down?
Yes, definitely.
Instead, if we're going to share our message with the world, I would much prefer to sit on the ground on a pillow next to everyone and just be together and remind all of us that this is all of us. We are all fractals of source consciousness. Every single one of us has this within us, every one of us. And we've got tremendous, countless lifetimes to call back. And that's what's delicious, because the lifetimes you're anchoring, the codes, the frequencies, the templates, the sheer wisdom of your soul that you're anchoring onto the planet just by being physical. Even if our human consciousness isn't aware of what's going on, our multidimensional being is this badass, awesome coded being, and it's just friggin' anchoring all these light codes all over the planet. Most mission souls don't even know they're doing grid work. They're called to a sacred place, and through them, their soul families work through their physical vessel doing grid work, opening and anchoring, and opening libraries of light within the quantum grids. And I share this because I kind of also want to say that for a lot of people, they get inspired to evolution and ascension, and their mission, like this desire for it's like there's a voice inside of them going, I'm meant for something more than this. The beginnings of our mission activating, our soul mission, it's like, surely it's not just this. No different to what would have happened to you a few years ago, I imagine.
Yeah.
There would have been this voice, happens to all of us, like, oh, this isn't what I'm meant to be doing. It's like this kind of, it's the amnesia breaking apart, right?
Yes.
And so I share this because there's a lot of mission souls out there awakening now, wanting to find what's my soul mission, what's my purpose, knowing it's not in 3D. And in 3D, I mean the pre-existing society of rules and templates of existence where everyone is meant to fit into a cookie cutter and, be successful, be rich, be famous, be skinny, be this, be that, be all these things, be approved of, behave a certain way where everyone's happy with them, which is not sovereignty and it's not freedom. It's being someone's puppet, basically. And so people are like, okay, I want to unplug out of that. That doesn't feel good. To even survive there, most people drink a lot.
Yes.
And when our missions and our ascensions coming online and expanding, this question of what am I here for, I want to kind of share with you if this might be really cool for you to hear as you're listening, all the beautiful souls that are. Our primary mission, if we're a mission soul, was to take physical form and anchor our soul frequency into the grids of this planet. And we had to become a part of the planet to do that. There's only so much that non-physical can do, and the rest of it needs to be physical. And it's like, just by being here, we're literally a fractal of Gaia consciousness. Gaia, our Earth planet, is all of it. Gaia is made up of the minerals, the crystals, the elements, the tree, the plant kingdom, the insect kingdom, the animal kingdom. If we were to take out all the animals and then all the trees and then all the elements and then all the mushrooms and all the crystals and then you'd find there's nothing left. There's a big hole in the galaxy. We literally are Earth. We, you, me, we are Earth. And because we are part of the animal kingdom, we're then integrated into the network. And so when we, as a mission soul, take physical form, the frequency of our soul, all the coding within us uploads into the collective of Gaia herself, Earth itself. That is the first mission. And then we're called, most of us are grid workers. And what that means is there are literal grids within the Earth. Some of you have heard about the crystalline grids of Earth. The crystalline grids of Earth are literally made up of grid work architecture from advanced golden ages of existence. So, every golden age of existence added to the architecture to transform the very nature of existence on this planet. Ancient Egypt, Shambhala, Avalon, Lemuria, Atlantis, Maya. Does this make sense? Grid workers will come in and will be guided to go somewhere, to go live somewhere, anchor somewhere. And just by being there physically, we are opening and unlocking libraries within those grids that have been dormant for potentially 10, 20, 50,000 years. And as those libraries open, those codes are being shared. And then the people that are able to receive them are receiving them while they're sleeping. And over the last couple of years, so many souls have received so many codes that have been unlocking, and they've also been guided to go to different places and go do something to unlock a library of light or to repair some grid work. And they don't even have to consciously know what they're doing. Most of us are doing this unconsciously because we exist in all forms at the same time. Our 5D, 6D, 7D version of us exists in the quantum now, which means that by being here physical, the other version of us that's technically, if you were to look at linear time, maybe 20 years from now, can work and share codes through this vessel into this time point, because time actually doesn't exist beyond the third dimension. Does that make sense? Was that a bit too much, or was that cool?
I understand, but I'm sure the people that are listening to this, they will understand.
Great.
Yeah. I've got so many more things, but I'm just wary of the time, so I'm going to wrap it up for us because I don't want to keep you longer than I'm meant to. So I'm so grateful that that I got to have you on my podcast. I've been so excited for so long to have you on, and everything that you've just said is just yeah, pure wisdom. Thank you so much for that. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up, and that's what's setting your soul on fire right now?
Oh, right now I'm so excited because the my soul mission. So for me, I have offerings, which I love. They're just my soul's art, and people get to come and do courses and things with me. And then I've also got other missions that I work on with Councils of Light and my soul family, and so for a while now, I literally build out crystalline 5D grid work and add it into the crystalline grids of the planet. So expanding and literally giving the grids of this planet a renovation, so to speak. What lights me up right now the most and excites me is how more and more souls are truly ready to receive all of this. How, I'm so blessed to be working with such phenomenal beings who are building a new earth, who are truly in their heart, who are truly at a place where, they're not wanting to ascend because it means that they get magic powers to make a better 3D reality and get famous and rich and look thin. They're wanting to ascend because they truly want to change this world and create a different world for this planet. That there's more and more of us that genuinely are excited to build a new golden age of existence. And I love being a part of that. That to me is the best.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And thank you for all the work that you do for this planet. And yeah, I'm ready to receive more codes as well.
Can
Yay.
I ask you something before we
Oh,
wrap
yeah,
up?
of course.
What about you? If I'm sure you probably shared this with your people before. Yeah, what about you? What is your most highest excitement? What puts a huge smile on your face right now? What's delicious for you right now?
What's delicious for me right now is actually taking time off to really spend time with me and be, because yeah, I've been running around in the 3D for too long, and it's like time to just kind of play in the 5D.
Yay!
Yeah.
I love that with your soul. Yes.
Yes, with my soul and with my children, because I know that they are very gifted.
Yay. Oh,
Yeah.
and I love that. And if it's okay, can I share one thing? I'm not
Yes,
sure if you know, are you
you've got,
familiar with Magic School for Kids?
yes, I know you've got them. I was going to ask you about that maybe offline, but yes,
Yes.
please,
Is that okay
please
if I share it with
share.
the
Of
people?
course. Yes.
So, beautiful souls. I literally launched and funded and founded online Ascension School for children and teenagers. We've got all these beautiful, amazing teachers it's an online. There's an online library of recordings plus live classes. Literally today, in an hour and a half, I'll be running a class for kids all over the world, and we're facilitating a mystery school for children for free so they can receive on emotional evolution, mental evolution, spiritual evolution, quantum evolution, to one, not lose their connection to the quantum, because often as kids we've got connection into our multidimensionality and then it starts to be pulled away because we get told to grow up, to stop imagining, to stop plugging into those places. And so if it's okay, I'll share the link with you, and you can add it somewhere
Yes.
below. So if anyone would love to find out more about this, if you've got children that would love to be a part of, a part of a school that supports them to be empowered creators of their realities, to have them expand their heart consciousness. This is the vision, is that if we're going to share, well, the vision is we're literally sharing the most advanced teachings with these kids. So when they grow up, they're not going to need to learn this stuff like the adults are learning in other courses right now, which means imagine the conversations and courses they'll have access to when they're growing up. They'll literally be mastering telekinesis, teleportation. They'll be looking at how to code quantum technology into farming, into it enables us to build a whole new future and working with the leaders of the future. So somewhere there'll be a link to Magic School for Kids. And if you're listening to this and you have something to share with them, like you have spent years, serving and mastering something and you'd like to teach the kids, then there's also, we receive volunteers. This is run by volunteers. We've got a team that of course I pay to run the back end, but it's a whole bunch of beautiful volunteers who are teaching classes for free out of their own love, and we've organized it. And so especially if your kids are quite awakened and quite sensitive, this is a place for them to come and to have certain things explained, quantum Q&A, and just really supported. So yeah, just thank you for letting me do a little bit of a plug for Magic School for Kids.
Oh, I'm more than happy to plug. What's the youngest that someone can join?
I think like 4 or 5, but
Okay.
I mean, realistically, I think we've also got some stuff in the library for mothers that are, like still in pregnancy phase, and light language transmissions and things you can play that are supporting the child and your connection. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there too. And there's classes for parents too. So there's conscious parenting coaches and mentors who are literally here holding crystalline templates for parenting, and they're like running classes, sharing, like, supporting parents, especially supporting the parents of kids that are quite gifted, because sometimes when your kid comes in and they start telling you about an alien race coming to them and giving them technologies and telling them what to do, you might be a little bit like, whoa. And so this is a place you can come and go, okay, my kid is a bit more advanced than I am.
I love it. Okay. Yes, I will definitely have the link there so people can check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love
Thank
that.
you so much, Gaby. I just love you so much. You're amazing. And
Love you.
and thank you once again. I'll have all your details in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And thank you once again for this beautiful conversation.
Yay. Thank you so much, gorgeous. It's been a pleasure. And thank you everyone for playing with us.
Thank you.